to the Variety Interview Studio. Candice, Arisara, and Jordana, thank you for coming. I first thought we could just start with the big exciting news that we heard this week, that Betches Media has been acquired by Lad Bible, which is a really big digital platform. I'd love to hear from each of you what you think that means for your role and just your excitement for what it could mean going forward in terms of your growth at the company.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. Big news this week. We're so excited to be working with Lad Bible Group, who can really help us bring Betches to the next level. They have such a global presence with offices in the UK and Australia. And we're so excited to really take the brand, make it global, take Betches, which is such a strong female humor site, and just help amplify it and help bring it really globally, because that's a huge goal of ours. And they have the resources and the social skills. They're huge on social media, over 1 billion followers and views across all their channels. So for us, we're just so excited to be working with them and being able to take everything that we're doing at Betches and really just amplify it and make our content even stronger.
Yeah, from the brand marketing perspective, I think what's really exciting is that we'll be able to just have more resources, kind of try new things, potentially more events, more brand campaigns and the like. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing what we'll be able to do in the future.
Yeah, for me, I think all of that sounds incredibly exciting. Expansion and the global reach is something that I'm really interested to explore. What we can learn from a brand that has lasted about as long as Betches, and yeah, just diving in and then just seeing where it takes us and expanding our ideas and the platform across audiences.
That's great. And then Betches, formed with millennial women in mind, but it does seem that it's evolved recently to be bigger than that. Perhaps this acquisition could have you guys dive deeper into Gen Z tastes. We'd love to kind of hear Candice, maybe as our Gen Z representative, how you think it could grow with different audiences in mind even.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to strengthen our reach of certain audiences, maybe help us learn how to tie in to pockets that we haven't reached just yet. Gen Z is very strongly tied into what we do. It just goes with the terms of communication and the way that society just changes over time, and I think younger generations really drive that force and push people to get out of what they're used to doing or what the standards and status quo are. So I think that's probably going to be the most exciting element of it.
Yeah, I would say, just to expand on that, knowing that, the general, kind of Gen Z consumer, they're very outspoken, they are not afraid to speak their mind, they're very vocal. So I feel like what we've already kind of been doing, and it works well for Betches, is the user-generated content, right? It's involving our fans and followers in the conversations that we're having on social media. We're not just speaking to them, but we're speaking with them. We're inviting them to be part of the conversations that we are holding, whether it's, on Instagram, where we have a UGC box and we have people respond to a specific prompt to, and Candice, you can speak to this a little bit more for the UA podcast specifically. We have listeners email in questions, and we kind of work to develop the topics for different episodes in that way. So I think that's something that will really take us, continue to take us to the next level there.
Yeah, and with that for You Up, it's Jordana with Jared as a co-host are really the driving force of the conversations, and it's going into 6 years, hundreds of episodes, about to reach 500. And with that, with the younger audience coming in, the self-awareness of Gen Z that is a very strong element of this generation, it really helps that we welcome them into the conversation. And while Jared and Jordana are there to craft what the conversation is, bring a lighter touch to it, it does help us talk about new things. But also with that younger audience, they're also looking for a lot of advice and guidance. There are certain mistakes that they don't want to make, or mistakes that they're willing to make, or experiences that they want to have or aren't sure of. And so being able to reach directly out to our hosts, then they're able to talk to you and kind of figure out a way around that and what we do. And you and I really work together a lot on those conversations that come in and how we're going to take them from there.
Totally. And I think for us, it's also about just creating a space that feels really special because there's so much the Gen Z is a generation that grew up on the internet. And there's so much out there. You see that all over the place on TikTok. There's so much advice. I mean, we comment on that all the time on Instagram, everywhere. So really what we're trying to do is create like a really high quality experience that sort of takes away a lot of the noise of every single person's opinion on the internet.
That's great. What else? I mean, You Up is a flagship podcast. We've seen it grow into like a live touring event. Where else are you hoping to take You Up, whether it's content or another kind of expansion of that franchise?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we've had so many live shows, and we love doing those because it's really amazing to be able to bring the show to a live audience, have live interactions, and do what we really do best with all of our content, all of our verticals, which is really take a topic that a lot of people think is a little bit heavy, a little intimidating, and we take the topic and we break it down and we make it just feel light. We take the edge off that topic, and you can just be around other people who are single or dating or even in relationships and really just feel like people get it and people get you in the room. And so we're really excited to do more of those shows. We're also pumped to like bring them, like we said, globally, because we know that, there's a lot of people outside the US who feel the same way on that topic.
Yeah, and I think with that, even at the shows, we've had listeners that meet at the show and then become friends based off of the podcast that connected them or certain favorite episodes where maybe you're going through something, but your friends aren't. And so they find that sense of community within the show. For going globally, we hear from listeners all over the world as well. And we've had a variety of just different segments and things that we've tried with the live shows. Like we've set people up before.
Blind dates,
various games. So there's a lot of that element that I'm really excited to see us be able to explore what we can grow from it and turn it into the next level.
That's great. Yeah. And we were kind of on talking about user-generated content. That's come up a bunch in terms of a way to break through to audiences now. Do you guys have challenges in terms of knowing which platform to go to, or how do you think about your strategy across these social digital platforms right now in terms of having the right thing to say and having it break through with all the kind of the clutter out there?
Yeah, I would say, for Betches as a whole, I feel like we have a very unique tone, right? Everything that we create, push out, speak to always has that very authentic, humorous approach. So I feel like, there are moments where it could be a little bit heavier, a little bit, scary at times, but I think what we really try to do is create content and create a space for consumers and our audiences to really be able to kind of see the light in life and be able to laugh with one another and with us. So I would say that, humor definitely is like what really sets us apart, and we, make sure that anything that we push out will make you laugh, will, want you to share that with a friend or a family member or a partner, because it's also so relatable. So I'd say that's definitely something that helps set us apart. And then I would also say from the brand partnerships perspective, if we wanted to talk about that, we really tie specific brand partners directly into the conversation. So an example, yes, definitely. An example, specifically for You Up is we have an editorial segment on the podcast called Red Flag Deal Breaker, right? Different scenarios. Is it a red flag? Is it a deal breaker? So a spin on that we played for the Golden Bachelor recently was red flag, green flag, or gold flag. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more, Candice?
Yeah, so that's a game that a lot of our listeners are very familiar with, but just to keep things fresh and to make it more fun when we're having different partners come on and kind of integrate them into the podcast a bit, and just to make it a bit more natural. We've had a game like Red Flag, Green Flag, Gold Flag. We were fortunate enough to have the Golden Bachelor on for that and play along with him, where not everything is a red flag or a deal breaker at times with relationships. Sometimes there are scenarios that come up for somebody where, for myself, it might be like, absolutely not. But for a friend, they would be like, marry that guy. So for the game of red flag, green flag, gold flag, that's where it was just thinking of, is it our tried and true red flag? Is it something that you're okay, you'd be open to dating them, or gold flag, that is something that you see in a lifelong partner? And it also really helps us expand to other elements of dating that we might not necessarily usually get to in the traditional game.
And that was in partnership with the show.
Yes.
Yes.
Makes sense. Very organic. Another thing, Jordana, is that's unique is you're very senior at the company, but you also tell people so much about your life on this podcast. How do you balance that business side and being so personal with everybody? I'd be curious to see how you approach those two parts of your life at Betches.
Right. No, I mean, one of the cool things about being a female-founded company is really that I think there is something about female leadership that leads maybe a little bit more vulnerable. And so that's always kind of been encouraged. That's always kind of been at the ethos of what we do at Betches, is having real vulnerable conversations that we can also laugh at. For a lot of companies, it might be kind of strange to have your co-founder talking about, arguments with her husband in her personal life, or, like things about them that are really vulnerable and intimate. But at our company, that's sort of like what we do. And I think that's our product and our content. And that's really when we're doing what we're doing best, is when we're not afraid to say the things that we're scared about or that we're vulnerable about. And that's really what resonates the most.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about baby steps at all?
Sure. Yeah. No, that's
Something
yeah.
new, or what's coming up next?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, what we like to say is there's something for everyone at Betches, no matter what life stage they're in. So we have You Up, which is obviously about dating and relationships. We have Betches Brides, which has also led into. We've had Childproof, which is our parenting podcast, and our new podcast. Our new show that's coming out is it's called Baby Steps, and it's about paths to fertility that are not traditional. So we interview a huge range of guests who really found their way to parenthood through, not a non-traditional path, whether that's being a single parent or going through IVF or adoption. So we're really taking a subject, again, that's what we do when we're at our best, is we're taking a heavy subject that people are kind of a little afraid to talk about, a little afraid to go there, and we're bringing it to people. We're making the conversations more open, and we're also adding a little humor to something that you wouldn't necessarily think could be funny. But in my opinion, you can make any topic humorous as long as you're being sensitive to the content.
For sure, yeah, and that'll be released starting on October 27th. So we're excited to launch that.
That's great. We're getting close to the end, but wanted to also hear from Candice. Is there anything that you're looking forward to in the coming year? A prediction for Betches that we should look out for?
I mean, there's always something going on at Betches. That's one of my favorite things about coming into this office and really joining this huge name, So we have a variety of very creative minds that have come in with our team. So on my side, working heavily with Jordana on You Up and Arisara as well for brand partnerships that we have. I'm excited to see You Up go back out there and possibly return into more cities for You Up Live. Just figuring out new and different segments to keep the podcast fun and fresh. Once we hit 500 episodes a couple of weeks from now, what else that means, what have we not reached, how to further expand the communities that we're talking to, because dating and relationships is universal. Everybody experiences them, whether they're romantic relationships or not. So listeners really come to us with every single scenario you could think of, and maybe we've talked about something for a certain kind of person, but maybe we could further those topics with other communities. So that's very exciting. We've had a range of experts, comedians. We've had celebrities from Sebastian Stan to Jax Taylor to Rebel Wilson, and other returning guests. So just seeing who's next and what else there is to talk about, really.
Wish list for a celebrity guest, or
Celebrity guest.
who do you want on, Jordana?
We know who it is.
Oh, you know who it is? Because if you're listening. We're talking about Esther Perel, right? Or Esther Perel, sorry, I said her name. Esther Perel is a huge person on my list, which is funny because like most people would be like, I don't know, who's the #1 A-list celebrity ever, but I just think anyone who's so insightful, has so many, amazing, smart, well thought out takes on all kinds of interpersonal relationships. That's sort of someone that I'm dying to get on this show. So if you're listening, open invitation.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.